Hey, this is Ciderhelm, and welcome to the Vainglory Hero Spotlight. Today we'll be looking at Magnus, the Arcane Prince of Gythia. Magnus is a mid-range mage that chains his abilities together to devastating effect. When successfully comboing his abilities, he can vaporize his enemies with a snap of his finger. Magnus's playstyle revolves around his heroic perk, Arcane RITE. Whenever an enemy is hit with any of his abilities, it applies an arcane mark. If one of his abilities hits a marked target, it gains an additional effect. Additionally, using a basic attack against a marked target will consume Arcane Mark and trigger an explosion, dealing bonus crystal damage. Magnus's first ability, Mystic Missile, fires a bolt in a target direction and deals damage to the first enemy it hits. If Mystic Missile hits a target with an Arcane Mark, the missile will scatter and hit all other nearby enemies. In teamfights, careful use of Arcane Mark will allow Magnus to effectively extend the range of his Mystic Missile. Cast the ability on a nearby marked minion or their tank to have it deal damage to nearby enemies while still keeping at a safe distance. Magnus's Chrono Driver fires a disc in the target direction that returns back to him. This damages enemies as it travels out and a second time as it comes back. If Chrono Driver hits a marked target, it will briefly stun the enemy. Chrono Driver can apply Arcane Mark on both passes of the disc, which means a stun can be triggered even if they weren't previously marked. This is great when firing the ability at max range, since it will immediately stun the target. When Seraphic Flare is activated, Magnus briefly channels before firing a blast of arcane energy, dealing damage to all enemies in a straight line. If the ability hits a target that is marked, the damage will be greatly increased. If Magnus's ultimate kills an enemy hero, they will explode in arcane energy, sending out a Mystic Missile to every nearby enemy. Mark your enemies before striking them and they'll be in for a world of hurt. However, that pales in comparison to the potential damage if Magnus gets the conditions just right. Ouch. Magnus excels in AoE damage, but his dueling potential should not be underestimated. In this clip, Magnus is exchanging blows with the enemy Scarf, with both of them narrowly missing their abilities. Scarf thinks he sees an opportunity to engage onto the prince, but in reality he just dug his own grave. While Scarf is using Dragon's Breath, Magnus uses Chrono Driver and hits him twice to trigger the stun on return. Now that Scarf is stuck in place, it makes it easy for Magnus to line up his Seraphic Flare and hits the marked dragon for huge damage. With Scarf so low, all it takes is a snap of the finger to finish him off. Here, Magnus is caught in a team fight near the enemy base. Things start to go south and his team is forced to make a hasty retreat. The enemy heroes chase the low-health Catherine, but they don't realize that they set up the perfect scenario for the prince. The enemy team is funneling into a straight line. Magnus throws out a Mystic Missile, refreshing his mark on Grace before firing his ultimate. This instantly kills Grace, but leaves Scarf with a sliver of health. Fortunately, Grace's death means that she bursts into additional Mystic Missiles, one of which is directed towards Scarf, sealing his fate. Without her allies, Lorelei is forced to flee and Magnus gets to continue the push into the enemy base unimpeded. Thanks for watching the Vainglory Hero Spotlight. Magnus will be arriving in Update 3.9 with the new Masquerade skin, so be sure to give him a try.
You have killed an enemy. Double kill. Triple kill. Quadra kill. Pentakill. Ace.